Ah. Ah. Right. Right.
ヒューズさんを殺したやつのことがわかるかもしれない。
ちょっと待ってよ。体の秘密は。
帰ってきたら教えてあげる。
そんな。
Ah, man, I love that voice acting. He's so good. Death of the Undying. Oh. Speaking of the Undying. No, you can't. The Undying. Ouroboros. That voice acting as well, though. Whoa! I didn't realize he was that close to them.
なんで出てきたんですか。
Wow.
私たちに何かあっても無視していれば敵の追及を逃れられるのに、こんなところにのこのこと。あなたは本当にバカですか。
わかったわかった。
He knows.
私がバカだった。
Great shot.
なんだよあいつは。なんだ。
ありがとうございました。
後にしろ。今は作戦。
I mean, I gotta say, man, Hawkeye is looking good.
見失うなよ。
Oh my god, look at this.
あの太った化け物のようなやつがまた出てくるでしょうか。
Quite descriptive, accurate.
なんだったんだあれは。
急所に何発撃ち込んでも平気な顔していました。もしかして。
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Al can help out in that case.
それ多分ホムンクルスだよ。
The score, man.
南部でグリードって名前のホムンクルスと会った。その人言ってたよ。ありえないなんてことはありえないって。
Oh, yes. And my body fled
軍
here.
の第三研究所か。上層部を有するきっかけができたな。
Look at this squad, man. God damn, I love it.
どっちに来た。二手に分かれるぞ。
はい。あら、偶然。
Oh.
ひどいわ。デートすっぽかして。私待ってたのよ。会いたかったわ。じゃあ。
Oh my goodness, that voice.
なんでここに。
Oh, Solaris. I called it Polaris.
騙してて。
Yeah.
ごめんなさい。
なるほど。騙されるわけだ。
Ah.
お前、母音数。
Ah.
大好きっす。
It'd be like that. Yeah.
マース・ヒューズを知っているか。
頭の切れるいい男だったわね。
A little too quick,
と
right?
どめをさせなかったのが残念だったけど。さすがイシュバールの英雄。容赦ないわね。
The hero. They've used that term ironically twice now, right?
見えるかしら。
Oh my god.
賢者の石よ。この石を核に作られた人間。それが私たちホムンクルス。
Homunculi.
化け物め。
失礼ね。感情がある。親に対する愛
Father.
情がある。私たちは人間よ。遅い。
Oh no. Oh no.
あらあら、お得意のホームも出せないわね。
大量の水があるならば分解して水素と酸素を発生させるまで。
Oh. Oh. Quick thinking, man. But surely that's not going to take her out.
あの女、間違いなく焼けたな。
Nah.
なんでわかるんですか。匂いだ。 負傷したいのは何度も嗅いだ。
He has.
シュワールの経験ですか。気をつけろ。はい。
Oh no! Wow. Whoa! Whoa!
ヘビーに胸元にいきなり手を突っ込むなんて紳士のすることかしら。
Oh! Uh-oh. Bradley?
大総統閣か。
侵入者とのどれ助けに行こう。
自分たちも同行します。
No, you stay out there.
一人で十分。
Oh my god.
言ったはずよ。賢者の石が核だと。
ハボック少尉返事をしろ。私より先に死ぬことは。
Yeah, he got it bad.
ハボック。
Whoa. Whoa.
そもそも別々の肉体と魂を一緒にしようってのが無理なんだよ。
Oh.
他人の肉体と魂の相入れないなら、鉄の体に人の魂の僕を。そうだ、僕たちの目的を果たす時までこの体が持つ保証はないんだ。
何よりおめさんも聞いていい。
Oh no.
困った
Wow.
男ね。それに鎧くんまで何？こんなところに来てしまって。人柱候補を一晩に2人も殺さなきゃならないなんて。そう、あなたともう一人。
Hawkeye's. Oh no. Ah.
待って。人柱
Yeah, I was gonna say
一晩に2人と。
Hawkeye's reaction here.
まさか。まさか。
I was just gonna say, don't fall to your knees.
本当に愚かで弱い悲しい生き物ね。先に行きたいの？そう、あなた扉を開けたの。逃げなさい。嫌だ。あなただけでは嫌なんだよ。
目の前で人が死んでいく。嫌なんだ。たくさんだ。もう誰も殺させない。守ってみせる。
Whoa.
よく言った。アルフォンス・エルリック。
Whoa. Whoa.
ようやくひざまずいたな。
Oh.
火打ち石を火種に自らの血で綴った錬成時。
Oh.
ならば死ぬまで殺すだけだ。
Oh my god. Bradley? Woo!
悔しいけど、あなたみたいな男にやられるのも悪くない。迷いのないまっすぐな目。
Yeah, they are.
楽しみね。その目が苦悩に歪む日はすぐ。
Wow.
アルフォンス、部下を守ってくれた礼を言うぞ。
そんなことより早く医者を。
そうだ。早く
Someone's
ハボ
watching.
ックに医者を呼んでやってくれ。頼む。
Hmm. Oh. Yeah, not in one piece though.
やれやれギリギリ助か
Ah!
ったがこのなりじゃな誰が直してくれるかな君まだ生きてよともおいちょ待って待っていやめて
Oh my god! Oh. Yeah, he remembers that ponytail. Oh my god!
Hohenheim.
Okay, so day 2 of episode 19. You know, the reaction was all I could manage. And then I kind of had to hang it up for the day. And now I'm coming back to it the next day for the discussion portion to an incredible episode, folks. Whoa, I mean, simply put, that is a blockbuster of an episode. It really is. You know, this is really most impressive at this point. I've got to say, I'm really so impressed by the writer, the creator of this anime, this manga, this story, Arakawa. Wow. You know, this is someone who has everything dialed in. I mean, the timing and the pacing, all of it, right? Escalating the tension at just the right moments. You know, I really feel like that Arakawa has really quite effectively, you know, showcased the use of tension in a narrative, right? The effective use of tension, the palpable tension, right? The escalating sense of tension. I think it's been executed really quite nicely, really quite effectively, right? In such an engaging manner, right? It has a heft to it. It really does. There's none of that fake tension in this, right? Because the stakes are so high. There's consequences. I mean, whew, you know, and then, you know, that kind of plays right into the action element of this. The stakes, you know, it's such engaging. I mean, it's such engaging action because the stakes are so high as well, right? And, you know, I mentioned consequences. Yeah, you know, there is quite a bit of death in this, right? Death of the Undying. And of course, you know, I guess it wasn't confirmed, but, you know, as of this point, I am going to assume that Jean Havoc died, right? I don't know. Let's see. He looked like he was a goner, man. Oof, that really caught me. You know, Mustang tells him, stay sharp. Split moment later, oof, yeah, he gets impaled by something quite sharp. But, you know, I'll get into that whole segment of the episode. It really, you know, just even thinking back to it, it's just really quite the episode. It really is. But first, let's focus on that ending. And listen, I've got to say, you know, I did check out the dub delivery for Ed, you know, Hohenheim. The delivery of that line, I've got to say, man, the dub didn't really do it for me. It didn't. I thought it kind of fell flat. It just didn't sell the moment. The Japanese voice acting, that really, I felt like really sold that moment. But, you know, I was curious to check out the dub for a lot of these moments as well. But I don't want to spend too much time on the dub and sub thing. So let's kind of get back on point. Yeah, man, after an episode like that, right? A breathless blockbuster, like I mentioned, you know, there's that. You know, it was kind of like, okay, that crew, that group of characters, they're kind of going to chill for a bit now. You know, Roy Mustang, he's going to need some recovery time. That's for sure. You know, Al was kind of beaten up too. He's going to need some fixing. But how about Al in this episode? I'll get to Al, man. Great episode for Al. and his growth. But yeah, it's kind of like, okay, that situation has kind of now calmed down. Let's move on to the next big thing here, the return of the father, right? Return of Hohenheim. Listen, man, the pain in those eyes, how beautifully drawn was that? I felt like there was just so much pain in those eyes, so much, I don't know, so much sorrow. I mean, yes, of course, he's at Trisha's grave. So yeah, it's certainly a sad moment for him, right? I'm not sure if it's the first time he's returned, because it could have happened off screen as well, right? Every now and then he could have dropped by, but this time it's in front of Ed, and of course that in itself, the timing and his reaction to Ed, of course, he didn't seem surprised to see him, just kind of walk up on him. So it feels like the timing of it is really quite deliberate on his part to show up now. I mean, the moment I saw him, I feel like I must have felt like Ed, right? Ed. Yes, of course, you could see, I mentioned the voice acting, you could just feel that anger just about to just explode. But he must have a million questions, just like me, right? But I don't think this is just a random, oh, let me go say hello to my son moment, right? There's a reason for this, of course, a narrative reason for this, for him to return now. And it's certainly going to be fascinating. It surely has to be fascinating. It has to be intriguing. It's going to be quite emotionally charged. You see, my stance on their father leaving, and that being, I just don't know enough, right? The only thing I can kind of really surmise and can be kind of sure about is that he must have had his reasons for, having to do that. But yeah, he's back. Even if it is temporarily, I'm not sure if he's about to stick around, but I have a feeling Ed's about to learn something quite substantial, or things that are quite substantial. And of course, through Ed, us, the audience, is about to get something quite juicy. I mean, this next episode, episode 20, certainly promises to be another fantastic episode. And honestly, I hope at least a half of that episode is just them talking it out, right? Of course, in an engaging manner, but still, I hope that those two get a lot of focus. It feels like a significant moment. It's a big moment, it is. And I love the presentation of it as well. The ending song slowly transitioning in, I thought it was a beautiful touch. It really, really adds to the moment, right? Shingeki did that a few times for season 4, part 1. And of course, the beginning lyrics of the ending just end up being so on brand for that moment as well, right? Let it all out. You really think you've been through it that episode, right? And now it's just kind of like, okay, let's calm down. Let's take a breather. But no, man, they put that cliffhanger in there. It's a great moment. But yeah, stuff like his resemblance, his uncanny resemblance to the father of the sins, right? Is that going to be explained here, right? Is it too soon for that, perhaps? Is he the goddamn Eastern Sage himself, right? Is that the father figure that's an Eastern Sage? How, what's the whole story behind the likeness, the resemblance, and, who came first? And then, of course, there's that possibility that he's actually not even a normal human. I spoke of this in the discussion for the last episode. But the one thing I have maintained is that I don't think that Hohenheim is that character, the father of the sins. I don't think that's the same character, because that character, the father of the sins, is a homunculi, right? I've seen the red eyes. I still don't know enough about Hohenheim, and surely he must know about the father and the sins, and their grand plans, and all of these important sacrifices and all that. So yeah, I really want to get to him, this character, just listen to him. So yeah, let's put a pin in that, and let's come back to that in the next episode, hopefully. But let's shift the focus to the other part of this episode now. Yeah, I've got to say, first of all, I was really quite surprised to see Lust gone and, you know, defeated this early on. Though, you know, it is episode 19 and I am about to move on to episode 20. So maybe I should stop saying this soon. But, you know, Lust specifically, that character really felt like, you know, she's going to be around for the entirety of this anime, essentially, or, you know, right till the end game. Now, listen, you know, it's entirely possible that Lust can be brought back, or that she is going to come back at some point. That father might be able to bring her back. But, you know, the ending for her just felt so definitive, right? And actually, I think it was the right send-off. I think that was a great character send-off. It was a prominent character and a formidable opponent, right? Formidable opponent and then some. So I feel like this was really a great send-off for that character. It really was. You really do feel that it is a big deal. It is a big deal. You know, ultimately, Roy Mustang, from the brink of death, somehow manages to, you know, kind of get himself together because he realized essentially he has to exhaust the regenerative abilities of Lust. It's quite the task, right? It is quite the task, but it's doable. There is a chance that it's doable. And you see Roy Mustang gave it a shot. He gave it a shot, all right. Now you see the destructive force of the Flame Alchemist on display, the brutality of it, right? Those screams, right? Oof. Yeah, you know, you can't help but think of Ishwal, right? Yes, Lust. There's not much sympathy for Lust, but, you know, as that is playing out on the screen, as Lust is screaming in agony, I'm also thinking of Ishwal, right? That's just playing out in my mind, you know, and how devastatingly effective he was there as well, right? Against innocent people. And, you know, I've noticed that Roy doesn't let that bother him, right? He's kind of made the choice to not let others bother him. You know, maybe internally, yeah, of course it hurts him, right? Surely. To be reminded of the things he had to do, right? Like many other state alchemists. But yeah, you know, you see that, you know, these taunts, right? They've been used against him a few times now. You know, the doctor took a taunt or taunted him recently, and now you have, of course, Lust kind of, you know, implying the same thing, or kind of, you know, kind of digging in, taking a dig. But yeah, it doesn't affect him. He doesn't let it affect him, you know, externally at least. He doesn't show it ever, right? He almost kind of owns it, doesn't he? It's kind of like this choice he's made. But listen, you know, I've mentioned it before. Everyone kind of handles things in a different manner. And I love the quick thinking by Al, you know, really puts that wall up really quick, doesn't he? Real quick. You know, and in that sense, it really is a great reading of the situation by Al, because, you know, now that they're behind cover, Mustang does not have to kind of hold back. And of course, you know, Jean's lighter comes in clutch, right? It comes in clutch. The smoking guy, right? You know, in that sense, it's great setup, isn't it? To have that type of character be a smoker, right? It just felt natural. It didn't feel like it was shoehorned in. You know, since I've seen Jean on screen, you know, I've known that he's a smoker. You know, it's a character trait. So yeah, it's really quite clever to have that kind of character be around Roy Mustang, right? And yeah, you know, ultimately his lighter comes in clutch. I mean, you know, it does not get any more clutch than Roy Mustang in that moment, you know? Left for dead, but somehow manages to, you know, pick himself up. Somehow manages to draw the transmutation circle in blood on the back of his hand. But, you know, also I've got to say that Lust's ending, right? Once she kind of realizes, oh, okay, I've been defeated. And of course, that still frame of her almost impaling Roy Mustang, but again, defiant in his stance. I mean, it was that close. She was that close, right? But ultimately, she kind of ran out of souls, right? Due to regenerating over and over and utilizing that Philosopher's Stone that is essentially her heart, right? So it kind of doubles as the heart for the homunculi. I mean, that scene of her ripping her chest open and showing the Philosopher's Stone, that was raw as fuck. I love that moment. You know, it got an oh my god out of me. But yeah, it really is cool. I think the character designs and the buildup of these characters, the sins, right, and their existence in general, it really is all quite cool. And these beings are goddamn incredibly tough. I mean, there's a sense of dread, right, because they're so incredibly formidable, right? You simply cannot beat them. And that's another thing, about this anime and the writing of this anime. It just backs you into a corner. It backs you into that corner, and it really feels like you're about to get hit, right? The knockout blow is coming because you just cannot see how you're supposed to fight back against them. And I love how it actually shows us Roy Mustang's thought process through all of this, right? Him actually experiencing it, right? And putting things together. But that first encounter with Lust, I think that has such a fantastic use of engaging exposition, right? Seamlessly flowing through that scene, right? Through the actions of these characters, through the actions of Lust, right? Through that scene, both the audience and Roy Mustang learn that, okay, so you cannot kill the homunculi by removing the stone, right? That kind of just kills that form of it, right? But then it can kind of regenerate from the stone once again. That this Philosopher's Stone is the core of the homunculi, essentially, right? The heart. Now, the placement of the Philosopher's Stone, is it the same for all of the homunculi? Because for Lust, they happen to be right behind her Ouroboros tattoo, right? On her chest. And she rips it open and it's right there, right behind it. So is there a possibility that maybe Gluttony's is behind the tongue, inside the head, essentially? Or it's just a coincidence that it just happened to be right behind Lust's Ouroboros tattoo that she does have on the chest, right? And Gluttony does have the Ouroboros on the tongue, so maybe that is by design. But kind of going back to Lust's final moments, there was something quite eloquent yet haunting about her last moments. I mean, she tells Mustang that someday soon, or not too far off, those eyes are going to be twisted in agony, right? So, I mean, that's kind of ominous. Is there any potential foreshadowing in there? That is really as ominous as it gets. But yeah, I felt like the actual imagery of her death was really quite poignant as well, right? Really quite effective. I mean, in that sense, it's a beautiful episode, right? A lot of stunning frames, a lot of stunning moments. I mean, there's an all-timer shot of Al in there, right? The shield for Riza Hawkeye, who is usually this composed, stoic figure. But, the idea of losing Roy Mustang, she loses that composure, right? It unloads every single gun into Lust, right? So, before she kind of essentially gives up and loses hope, she still manages to kind of, remember her training, remember her instincts, right? To unload every single bullet she has into Lust, just in case. But yeah, she was done for. She gave up there, right? And again, you see Roy Mustang had a similar reaction earlier, the cold open. He must have been thinking. I mean, he was. You see through that quick flash of Maze Hughes' dead body, a puddle of blood in his body. You see, he's kind of fearing the worst. He really is. Once again, he's probably thinking, not again, not like this, not another one, right? And for that reason, he books it out of there. And he makes it to that area really quite quickly. I guess it is much closer than I thought it was. And yeah, shoots Gluttony right out of the top. So yeah, I'm sure they'll run into Gluttony once again down the line. But yeah, for now, they kind of escape him. And I mentioned engaging and effective exposition being kind of snuck in. I thought, the car drive over. And I was speaking of Al explaining homunculus and homunculi to Riza Hawkeye and Roy Mustang, right? And their tremendous regenerative abilities. But how about Al, right? Stepping up to Lust, protecting, being that shield for Riza Hawkeye, because he's just so sick of people dying in front of his eyes. And I thought it was a great touch to have those moments kind of flash, right? These people, including Miss Martell, that died inside of him. I mean, her death actually ends up playing quite a significant role in his life as well, right? But yeah, young Nina, Mace Hughes, all of them kind of flash in his mind, and he's sick of just losing these people and not being able to make a difference, right? Feeling like a bystander, feeling like a passenger, not anymore. And man, does he pick the moment to step up, right? I mean, this, Lust, another reason it's so surprising that she's gone so soon is because Lust felt like one of the generals, right? Kind of like Father's number 2, right? She really felt like the leader of the sins up until this point, right? And that a lot of things are kind of going through her. So yeah, it's surprising, but it's really refreshing as well to see that type of character can die this early on, really. Though again, I'm not really able to say for sure that that's the last of Lust, and I'm not going to see her again, right? Because I don't know, who knows the things Father's capable of. But yeah, regardless of any further or future appearances of Lust, that was a phenomenal send-off, a fitting send-off for that character, I think. But yeah, in terms of the Alric brothers and the growth, I love that they're having these separate growth moments, right? And yeah, I was hoping for this, right? Remember I mentioned that I'm expecting and hoping for a split. Sometimes they're not going to be together, right? But these moments are going to happen. And I feel like, from time to time, that they're going to surprise each other as well, through their growth and experiences that they had in the time they might not have been together. But, I mentioned Martel playing an important role in Al's life, right? Because that kind of brought his memories back. But if you'll remember, I was a little bit, concerned about the blood splashing on top of the seal, because I was afraid it might kind of smudge it or smear it, right? Thankfully it didn't, but you see here through Barry the Chopper, who I think it's safe to assume, yeah, he's gone, he's finished, right? But it certainly serves as a cautionary moment, doesn't it? Because they've shown us a suit of armor, a soul affixed to a suit of armor just die, right? So in that sense, it is a reminder to the audience, hey man, our boy Al, his seal, if it was to get smeared, if it was to get scratched or damaged, it's on a knife's edge, essentially, right? So, this whole concept of, Al being immortal, it's actually really quite loose because, he's actually quite mortal, right? If that seal gets damaged, scratched, smudged, that's it. That's the end of the line for Al, right? So, yeah, you see that through Barry the Chopper, it's making that point. It's trying to get that point across as well. But, Barry the Chopper's body, is it kind of like an instinct type thing that, it kind of wanted that soul back in it, right? Is that a possibility here, right? You see, there's a reaction, right? It's quite emotional. The body is having this reaction to kind of holding the soul, essentially. So I don't know, maybe it's a case of somehow, through instincts, the body even realizing, okay, that's the soul, it wants the soul back, or maybe it's even realizing, okay, it just wants it all to end. It wants this nightmare to end, right? The moment the soul gets scratched or damaged, the seal gets damaged, both, Barry's soul, of course, that's gone, and the body immediately ceases to exist, or it exists, but like it's gone, it dies. So yeah, yet another thing for Al to kind of, maybe struggle with from time to time, this notion that maybe, the current form he's in at the moment, the suit of armor, maybe it might not last as long as their journey. But, you see here, they've shown us the reason that Roy Mustang really kind of has so much loyalty, right? Because he himself has a lot of loyalty for his people, his crew, his most trusted people, right? People like Jean Havoc, the late Jean Havoc, and, people like Reza Hawkeye. Yeah, he was really quite thankful to Al, right? For looking out for his subordinate. Some great subtle moments for Reza Hawkeye and Roy Mustang. But yeah, he cares for his crew. He's loyal to them. He comes to their rescue immediately, right? So you can totally see why there is this sense of loyalty towards Roy Mustang, right? I mean, ultimately, Lust's downfall is because she likes to play with her prey. She should have killed Roy Mustang, right? She should have killed him, but no. She likes it slow. She likes it to last. You know, he was on the brink of death, but by leaving him, she gave him that small chance to do something, and he does it. The madman does it. But yeah, you know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, these sins, they feel like such impossibly difficult opponents, formidable opponents. In that sense, it kind of, it's kind of on brand, isn't it? You know, it's certainly tough to, you know, kind of steer clear of sin, isn't it? So yeah, you see it being depicted through the actual sins being just these incredibly difficult beings to take out. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. Thoroughly enjoyed that. But if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or perhaps even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your time, as time is precious. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.